Hello and welcome. I'm Reverend Dr. Rebecca Letterman, and it's my privilege today to offer you a spiritual resource in this introduction to a prayer practice that's called Visio Divina. Visio Divina is a practice that specifically nurtures a receptivity toward God. And it's modeled after something you may have heard of called Lectio Divina. These are just Latin words, Lectio Divina being divine reading. And Visio Divina, divine seeing, is patterned after that. And it's a kind of prayer practice that many people find really enjoyable and just delightful, and a way to specifically nurture and to choose, that the practice itself is a kind of prayer to choose to be receptive to God in our everyday lives. So for this presentation, basically my agenda will be to give you just a brief introduction to what Visio Divina is, walk you through the 5 steps of it, provide you an example, and then invite you to give it a try. So first of all, an introduction. What is Visio Divina? What is this divine seeing? Visio Divina is a way of praying that, as I just mentioned, specifically nurtures receptivity in our prayer life. And it's often also experienced as something that brings joy and delight, or awe and delight. So often when we pray, particularly in our dominant culture here in North America and certainly some other countries, often our prayers focus on thanksgiving and gratitude, praise and worship, intercession, asking for things that we need, and asking on behalf of others, pleading to God for things that we need and things that we desire. And those are all really important biblical practices. So those are important things to do in prayer. But as you know, in any relationship, it isn't just a matter of talking to someone. It's also a matter of listening to and being present to the other, in this case, God. And so in our prayer lives, we want to nurture a receptivity as well as an expression back to this God who loves us so much. And so Visio Divina is a way of praying it has elements of both, but it especially emphasizes being receptive to God and the presence of God in everyday life and in the things around us. So there are 5 basic steps to Visio Divina. The first one is to receive a picture. That's a funny way to say that, isn't it? Most of us with our cameras, our smartphones, we talk about it, we say, I'm going to take a picture, or I took a picture. Visio Divina uses this language of receiving a picture specifically to orient us toward that receptive posture. So it's not so much that I go out and I take a bunch of photos, like I'm grasping them to myself, or we capture a photo, capture an image. But it's this idea of utilizing the technology of a phone, a camera, and receiving pictures, going out with a kind of an openness. Usually, it doesn't have to take long. I love to do it outside. Many people do this outside, but you can do it inside as well. But kind of just taking meander around a setting and with your camera and receiving pictures from that setting. So the first step is to receive pictures and then to select one of those pictures for this Visio Divina practice. You could do it right away, just after you've received the set of pictures. You could even do it the next day. You can do it a couple different ways, but the idea would be to receive pictures or picture and then to select one to then spend some time with in prayer. The second step is then to meditate. And here, when I say meditate, I'm using that biblical concept of meditation, where we consider, we think on, we kind of chew on, we are just pondering. And so with a picture, with a particular picture that we've selected for this practice, we look at the picture and we consider, what is it about this picture, this image that I'm looking at? What is it about this that draws me to it? Why am I interested in this? And kind of ponder that. And also pay attention to anything that comes up in oneself as one ponders it. We may have a desire that comes up, something that stirs in us, something we long for. It may be that the picture reminds us of where we were when we received the picture. And so we may have memories that come up of what it was like to be in that setting. There might be a scripture that comes to mind. It could be many things. But meditation in this way is to look at the picture that we have received and to chew on why are we drawn to this and what does this picture bring up for us. After spending a little bit of time doing that, then we move on to the third step, which is to pray. So it's specifically taking what has come up in my own heart as I've considered this picture and chewing and contemplating on why and what, and bringing that to the Lord in prayer. So for example, if I've seen something outside, maybe I've taken a picture of a tree or a flower, just something, a bird, something that drawn my attention, I may have a prayer of thanksgiving and gratitude for the ability to see and for the chance to get to spend a little bit of time with this beautiful picture from nature. Maybe I've been drawn to a picture that is actually kind of painful to look at, and so maybe my prayer is going to lead me to intercession or to even lament. So you just, whatever it is that has come up for you looking at this picture, as you meditate on it, you bring that to the Lord in prayer. Then the fourth step of the practice is to then spend a little bit of time, enjoy a little bit of time in contemplation. And by contemplation, I mean it here in the traditional Christian sense of that, which is frankly to rest in the presence of God with an awareness of the fact that I am in a relationship, beloved relationship with God. That I belong to God, God belongs to me. And simply, I say simple because sometimes it isn't simple for us. We don't do it often, many of us. But most of us will do it sitting, just resting in that felt sense of what it means to be in relationship with God. And the final step of Visio Divina is then to share either the picture itself or the experience with someone else. So having walked through those 5 steps, receiving a picture, meditating on it, what it brings up in me, praying about what comes up, resting in contemplation, and sharing, let me provide an example for you. So a couple weeks ago, I had a really full schedule, and it was just, I was getting very tired. And I've learned in such seasons, it's especially important for me to carve out a little bit of time. In this case, it was just a couple hours one afternoon to specifically set things aside, allow myself to be in God's presence very mindfully and very gratefully, and in a sense, be contemplative, simply rest and be receptive in God's presence. So I live about 45 minutes away from a place called the Abbey of the Genesee in Buffard, New York. It's one of my favorite places to go and be because it's it has a very prayerful sense there. So I drove down, took my time driving down to the Genesee Valley, and it was a beautiful day. And when I got there, I sat in the Abbey lobby for a little bit and simply enjoyed the silence, enjoyed the prayerful presence, enjoyed having some time to rest with God in a very mindful way. And then I thought, I think I'll take a little walk outside. There's a little path just outside the, just on the edge of the Abbey parking lot. And I thought I'll just walk. I'd walked it many times. I'll just walk this little path. And I thought, I think I'll do some Visio Divina. So I got out my smartphone and opened my camera app and just began to receive some pictures of just very everyday little plants and things around me. And so I did that for a while. And again, just a stroll, just a leisurely walk, a very receptive attitude, and just enjoyed. I was outside, it was a beautiful day, just enjoyed many different pictures that I received. I guess it jumped over, but I had a number of pictures that I took. And then I settled on one, which is the one that you have here. So I took, as I say, a variety of pictures of flowers and things. And then I came back to this one picture. I had seen this little chipmunk, and I had zoomed in on it. And this chipmunk and I spent a few minutes just noticing and gazing at each other. She was looking at me from this angle. I just was very still and just watched her and enjoyed. It was, as you can see maybe from the lighting in it, it was a warm day. I just enjoyed really looking at this little chipmunk. And I enjoyed then revisiting this picture. So next what I did was to take some time to meditate on this picture. Why am I drawn to this particular picture, this image? I love the visual texture of the trunk of that tree. I love the way the little chipmunk had her paws just resting on that trunk, which I'm pretty sure was warm at the angle she was at. She was on kind of the west side of the tree where it was all lit up by the sunlight. And she just sat very still. And it almost looked like she was sunbathing. And she just sat there just, I think, getting warmed up on the tree and we just sort of looked at each other for, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes. And I really enjoy animals, especially little creatures. And chipmunks hold a kind of special place for me. For some reason, I kind of relate to chipmunks. If you know anything about chipmunks, they tend to have two different modes. They run around, are very busy and chattery, and they're stuffing their little cheeks full, and I like to eat, so I can relate to that. And also, they can sit very still for long periods of time and just kind of look. And that's what she was doing. And I kind of have those modes of being myself. I can have very full busy times, and I also enjoy contemplative practice. So there's something about chipmunks I just find that I can relate to. And for some reason, it seems like when I'm at crucial periods in my life, I see chipmunks. So that's why I was drawn to this picture. I thought, Lord, here I was, it was a busy time. I had set this time aside to be with God down at the Abbey, and I got to see this little chipmunk and enjoyed being seen by her. So all those things came up for me. I thought, Lord, thank you. I don't know what you're doing, but it seems like I have this recurring theme of little chipmunks that show up in my life at crucial times. And I'm in a period of discernment in my own life and just trying to be very open to God and sensitive to his movements. And so I felt met in some sense, not met by God through the presence of this little creature. And my prayer afterward, even now, is, Lord, thank you. Thank you so much for the beauty of creation. Thank you that I have eyes that are still able to see. Thank you that I have a technology in my smartphone that lets me zoom in on a picture like this. Thank you for the memory of that beautiful time at the Abbey when I felt renewed and strengthened and arrested in your presence. Thank you for the men who have for decades prayed in that place and whose lives are committed to lives centered on your word and on community. And thank you that that's even in my world that I'm able to get there. So lots of thanksgiving, looking at this and remembering this moment when I received this. And then I would just spend some time resting in the joy and the gratitude, the awesome privilege of being in relationship with a God who not only creates amazing, beautiful sights such as the beautiful day, the sun, the fields, the trees, the little chipmunk, but who also personally encounters us. And so I just sit and rest in the presence of God and enjoy his presence. We have such busy lives. So many of us feel rushed and pressed. But it's good and it's right to choose to slow down and to allow ourselves to viscerally experience what it means to be God's beloved. So that's what contemplation is. And I'm doing the last step of Visio Divina by sharing actually this particular experience with you today. So having done that, I'd love you to give this a try. And you can pause this video if you need the steps to receive a picture somewhere, to select one, to receive it fully, to meditate on it, to pray with it, to rest in contemplation. And then for this spiritual resource, the seminary has set up a spot for you to share your received pictures with each other. And you can do that at this link here that you can see on this last slide. You can pause this here so you can see the link or use the link. And when you get to this little app called Padlet, you click on the plus, the add icon. You add and there's a subject line. You can put in your name, the degree program you're in if you'd like to. And then you can, thus doing that, you can share your photo, you upload the photo, and if you want to, you can even add a brief description of why you chose the photo, or maybe what came up in prayer, or maybe even what this experience was like for you. So I encourage you to try out Visio Divina, see what it's like to pray in this way, and maybe you'll find it to be a practice that you actually really enjoy and that you feel really nurtures your receptivity to God. And if that's what it does for you, I encourage you to do it more than once, maybe even make it part of a regular prayer practice for a season of your life. God bless you. I hope you have found this introduction to Visio Divina helpful, and I hope that you find it as a way that helps you find yourself encountered by the God who loves you.